In the final, violent days of the samurai, Japan was a nation tearing itself apart, an ancient way of life was colliding with the modern world. In the chaos, men were forced to choose a side. Most chose power or survival, but one man chose a lost cause. He was a farmer's son who became a feared warrior, a poet who became a demon, a man who sacrificed everything to uphold a single, unbreakable oath. This is the story of Hijikata Toshizō, the demon vice commander of the Shinsengumi, and the last true samurai. Hijikata Toshizō was born in 1835, not into a noble samurai family, but to a wealthy farming household. A handsome, restless youth, he spent his early years selling his family's herbal medicine and honing his swordsmanship. He was a warrior's soul trapped in a peasant's body. But the world was changing. The arrival of American warships shattered Japan's centuries of isolation. The authority of the Tokugawa shogunate began to crumble. The country was split between those loyal to the shogun and radical imperialists who wanted to overthrow the government. The streets of Kyoto ran red with blood. It was in this turbulent time that Hijikata found his purpose. He met a man named Kand Isami, the master of a small sword school. In Kand, Hijikata saw a charismatic leader he could believe in. In Hijikata, Kand saw a brilliant, ruthless strategist. Together, they shared a burning ambition to rise above their station and become true samurai in service to the shogun. In 1863, their chance came. They joined a group of masterless samurai, or arnin, recruited to act as a bodyguard force in Kyoto. When the group disbanded, they refused to leave. They would remain and form their own group, the Shinsengumi, the newly selected corps. Kand was its heart, but Hijikata was its brain, and its iron fist. To forge this unruly band into an elite force, Hijikata created the infamous Code of the Shinsengumi. The rules were absolute, the penalty for breaking them was seppuku, ritual suicide. There was no room for mercy. His own men began to fear him, calling him Oni no Fukic, the demon vice commander. He had created the perfect weapon, and it was about to be unleashed. In the summer of 1864, Kyoto was a powder keg. Radical samurai were plotting a massive terrorist attack. Their plan was to set fire to the city, and in the chaos, assassinate key officials and kidnap the emperor. The Shinsengumi were the only thing standing in their way. As vice commander, Hijikata was the Shinsengumi's intelligence chief. Through spies and brutal interrogations, he learned of the plot. He knew the radicals were meeting, but he didn't know where. Time was running out. On the hot, humid night of July 8, Hijikata made a critical decision. He split his forces. He gave Kand a small elite squad, while he took the larger contingent. It was a strategic gamble. If one group found the enemy, they would have to hold out, outnumbered, until the other could arrive. Kand's squad struck first. They located the radicals' meeting place, a small inn called the Ikedaya. With a deafening war cry, Kand and his men charged inside. What followed was one of the most brutal sword fights in Japanese history. In the tight, dark confines of the inn, 10 Shinsengumi faced off against more than 30 elite samurai. The Shinsengumi fought with demonic fury, but they were being overwhelmed. Their top swordsman, Okita SG, suddenly collapsed, struck down by tuberculosis. The line was about to break. Just as Kand's men reached their breaking point, Hijikata arrived. Hearing the sounds of battle, he had raced his troops across the city. His arrival was the hammer blow. The Shinsengumi surrounded the inn, and Hijikata himself led the charge inside. The plot to burn Kyoto was shattered. The Ikedaya Incident made the Shinsengumi legends. For Hijikata, it was the ultimate validation. His ruthless training and iron code had been proven on this bloody night. But they had saved a city for a government that was already doomed. The tide of history was against them. Within 4 years, war would erupt, the shogunate would fall, Kand Isami would be executed. And Hijikata, having lost his leader, his comrades, and his cause, would have to make a final, desperate choice, to surrender or to fight on, alone, as the last samurai. The Boshin War was the end of the samurai world. At the Battle of Toba Fushimi, the shogun's forces were crushed by the superior firepower of the new imperial government. The age of the sword was over. After the defeat, Hijikata's commander and sworn brother, Kand Isami, was captured and beheaded. The Shinsengumi was shattered. For most, this was the end, but not for Hijikata. With Kand gone, the leadership of the survivors fell to him. He refused to surrender. He would honor his fallen comrades and his oath to the very end. He became a ghost, leading a phantom army north, fighting a war that was already lost. He fought his way up the length of Japan. At Utsunomiya Castle, he was shot in the foot but refused to leave the front lines. He fought at Ezo until that loyalist bastion was burned to the ground. Finally, Hijikata joined the last of the Shogunate loyalists, the navy under Admiral Inomoto Takiki. They fled to the northern island of Ezo, modern-day Hokkaido. There, they did something unprecedented. They established the Republic of Ezo, the first ever republic on Japanese soil. In this new republic, Hijikata was made vice minister of the army. It was here that the demon vice commander transformed. He shed the image of the ruthless enforcer, becoming a calm, respected, and even gentle commander, beloved by his men. He cut his samurai topknot and donned a Western uniform. The farmer's son who dreamed of being an ancient warrior had become a modern general. He poured all of his strategic genius into defending this last bastion of resistance. For a brief, shining moment, it seemed his brilliance might be enough. But he knew it couldn't last. The imperial government was massing a huge invasion force. The Republic of Ezo was doomed. In the spring of 1869, the final assault began. As his comrades were being slaughtered, Hijikata knew he had one last charge to make. He was not riding to victory. He was riding to his death. On June 20, 1869, the Battle of Hijikata reached its climax. A group of his men were isolated and surrounded. Without hesitation, Hijikata gathered a small handful of soldiers and charged into the fray to rescue them. He should have been commanding from the rear, but that was never his way. While on horseback, leading the charge, a single bullet found its mark. It struck him in the abdomen, and he fell from his horse. The demon vice commander, the ghost of the north, the last samurai, was dead. He was 35 years old. His death marked the effective end of the Boshin War, and the end of the samurai era itself. The world that Hijikata had fought and died for was gone forever. But in death, Hijikata achieved a fame that eclipsed that of his conquerors. He became a tragic, romantic hero, the ultimate symbol of dying for one's beliefs. His story was immortalized in novels, films, and manga. The demon vice commander became one of the most beloved and iconic figures in Japanese history. The legend often blurs with the man. His supposed death poem, "Though my body may decay on the island of Ezo, my spirit guards my lord in the east," was likely a later invention. The image of the demon itself was a role he played, a mask he wore to forge a strong organization. The real Hijikata was a far more complex figure, a ruthless strategist, a gifted poet, a charismatic leader, and a man of unwavering conviction. Why do we admire a man who fought so fiercely for the wrong side of history? Perhaps it's because Hijikata's story is not about winning or losing. It's about integrity. In an age of chaos and shifting loyalties, he never wavered. He chose his path and walked it to its bloody, inevitable end. He swore an oath, and he honored it with his life. Hijikata Toshizō was a relic of a dying age, a man who bet everything on a future that never came to be. But by sacrificing himself for his lost cause, he became something more than a soldier. He became an immortal symbol of what it means to be a samurai. He lost the war, but he won the battle for legacy.